As China's economy enters a phase of deflation, the smiles gradually fade from the faces of government officials dressed in formal attire walking down the bustling city streets. Following the salary cut storm of 2022, a new wave of wage reductions arises again. In affluent Shanghai, the annual salary of a division-level cadre shockingly dropped from $50,000 to $30,000 USD almost instantly, while section-level officials saw their salaries decrease from over $30,000 to just over $20,000 USD. Beijing and Tianjin followed a similar path. In Guangdong, a frontrunner of the economy, the situation seems even more severe. A government official previously earning $50,000 USD per year had their year-end bonus of $18,000 USD slashed. Furthermore, they had to pay back taxes from the last 3 years. The actual salary cut reached a staggering 50%. Shenzhen is the peak of government official incomes, with a typical division-level official earning an annual income of $120,000 USD. However, as the year-end bonus has been cancelled, their monthly income might fall to $5,000 USD and annual income to $60,000 USD, a reduction far exceeding the officially announced percentage. Concurrently, areas like Zhejiang, Fujian, and Jiangsu also implemented salary cuts of 25%, 20%, and 15% respectively. The drastic pay cuts occur because, in these economically developed areas, bonuses and subsidies often amount to 2 to 3 times the basic salary. This means if your basic wage is around $1,000 USD, your bonus could reach up to $3,000 USD. Even having undergone a second round of pay cuts, young civilian servants in Zhejiang, Jiangsu, and Fujian still have entry-level salaries as high as $30,000 USD. Although this is somewhat less than their counterparts in Beijing and Shanghai, who earn annual salaries of $40,000 USD or even close to $50,000 USD in Shenzhen, it's still an attractive income compared to the average graduate's annual salary of $12,000 USD. In regions far from the southeast coast and first-tier cities, civil servants are experiencing unprecedented difficulties. They lack housing-provident funds like those in Shenzhen, bonuses are non-existent, and salaries even have to be borrowed from banks. The most distressing case is in Hebei province, where some units require civil servants to mortgage their properties for loans to pay their salaries. Consequently, many choose to resign. Armed with degrees from universities of Project 985 or Project 211, they prefer to brave the challenges of the external job market than to exchange their properties for meager salaries. There are also civil servants working in inland provinces with already low wages. Their bonuses have been cancelled and part of their previous salaries need to be returned, causing great resentment. In June, a county town in Sichuan once again experienced difficulty in salary distribution. A grassroots civil servant in the county finance bureau rushed to the bank on payday in June, only to be dumbfounded that his salary had not been deposited. After hurriedly calling his supervisors, he found out that the fiscal allocation had not yet arrived, so all civil servants were not paid. This was not his first encounter with such predicament. Since the beginning of this year, their unit has repeatedly experienced salary payment delays. Sometimes the delay is bearable, perhaps just a week, but at times it stretches to a full month. This adds insult to injury for already struggling grassroots civil servants who rely on this modest income to support their families. In this small county town in Sichuan, tens of thousands of grassroots civil servants and staff of public institutions are facing such challenging circumstances. Some of them have even resorted to high-interest loans to meet their immediate needs. Such scenarios are all too common in many county towns. Ruizhou in Henan, once a vibrant county town, has seen a continuous arrears in wages for local public institutions since last year. The lives of teachers devoted to educating children and doctors giving selflessly have become exceedingly difficult. Children can't attend school, sickness can't be treated due to lack of funds, and issues like heating and basic sustenance have become problematic. In June of this year, unable to bear it any longer, teachers decided to stage a sit-in protest on the streets, making their voices heard to the government. However, the local government facing financial difficulties could only issue some relief funds, which obviously couldn't solve the problem. The teachers were outraged. Teachers in Shenzhen and the Yantai Development Zone in Shandong are also facing the same predicament. Their salaries have been drastically cut by 30%. The teachers in Yantai Development Zone, deeply dissatisfied, organized strikes in protest. The medical community, also part of the public institutions governed by the Communist Party, has been hit hard. Over 2/3 of medical staff nationwide have been informed of wage reductions, and after deducting Social Security, their incomes have become extremely limited. Some young doctors even have monthly incomes as few as a few thousand yuan. Some hospitals have even implemented wage cuts of up to 35%. Under these circumstances, many doctors expressed dissatisfaction with their salaries and living conditions, but their protest did not receive a positive response and instead led to repression.
它也不是最小的，我们再往下看，有一个陕西的佛坪县非常袖珍，全县人口一共8000人，县城8000人，供养多少呢？2000个人，也就是说6000人要供养2000人。你觉得可能供得起吗？所以其实中国的很多这种袖珍的县，包括我们很多的这样的一个中西部的主要分布的，它都是靠什么？都是靠2条：一靠卖地，二靠财政的转移支付。但现在的问题是2条腿都有点问题。
The finances of China's major grassroots counties rely on two things: land sales and fiscal transfer payments. Both these aspects are problematic now. Take Hechu County in Shanxi Province, for example. In 2021, the income from the public budget was only 1.259 billion yuan, but the public budget expenditure was 2.078 billion yuan. The situation worsened in 2022, and by 2023, the land could no longer be sold. Half of the supposed 1.2 billion budget revenue might be lost. Many of China's less developed regions depend on fiscal transfer payments from developed provinces along the southeast coast. But this year, even those affluent regions are running out of surplus. As both sources of revenue falter, the proportion of layoffs and pay cuts for civil servants and institution staff in county towns is likely to grow. Nationwide, the trend is consistent. In 2022, the national land auction revenue dropped to 670 million yuan, a decrease of 2 trillion yuan compared to the previous year. In the first half of 2023, this number further declined to 1.9 trillion yuan, significantly lower than the 2.9 trillion yuan in the first half of the previous year and the 4 trillion yuan in the first half of 2021. Simultaneously, the weakness of the real economy, the closure of many companies, and the loss of external investment have all dealt blows to China's tax revenue. In 2022, the financial income of local governments was 10.88 trillion yuan, a decrease of 0.28 trillion yuan compared to the previous year. Coupled with decrease in land auction revenue, the financial pressure on local governments has visibly increased. Facing these difficulties, local governments have turned to fines as a new source of income to secure basic expenditure. While the revenues from this method are significantly less than those from land sales and taxation, they at least temporarily alleviate fiscal pressure. However, this approach is not sustainable in the long run. As China's economic growth slows down, many local debts and financing platforms find themselves unable to pay off their loan interests. Consequently, local governments are eventually bound to face a financial shortfall. The salaries of public servants and public institution employees may face broader and more significant cuts. If these reductions prove insufficient to cover the fiscal deficit, local governments may have to consider organizational reform and staff streamlining. Recently, the organizational reform in Hechu County, Shanxi, has become a hot topic. Despite the overall number of civil servants and the size of the leadership layer remaining relatively stable post-reform, the number of public institutions was significantly reduced from over 180 to just 40. More notably, the original 36 party and government organizations were consolidated into 22. This shows that under the current circumstances, adjusting and optimizing government organizations is feasible. Hechu County is merely a small county-level city, dwarfed by even a small district in a first-tier city. Therefore, if such a small area has so much room for optimization, larger cities and higher government departments may have even more scope for institutional and personnel cuts. The Education Bureau in the Gui'an district of Guiyang City has already proposed a bottom 10% elimination policy, which suggests an annual elimination of 10% of teachers. If Guiyang starts to implement this, other provinces across the country may follow suit, implying that teachers no longer hold a secure profession. In the future, if China can't find new, significant fiscal sources, it might face several challenges. Public assets and infrastructure may begin to lack maintenance. Wages for local institution personnel may continue to be cut, or positions may even be reduced. Real estate taxes may be introduced. The central government may have to expand its debt scale to support local governments. To provide a more comprehensive perspective, let's consider the total number of individuals receiving financial allocations in China. Currently, China has over 7 million civil servants, around 2 million military personnel, and about 10 million people working at the grassroots level, such as in communities and village committees. Additionally, there are about 35 million public institution employees along with 30 million retirees. Therefore, the total number of individuals who rely on government payrolls is over 80 million. 60% of China's fiscal budget is spent on these individuals. We're unsure if the salary cuts will impact the number of people applying for the civil servant exams next year, but the previous wave of pay cuts between 2021 and 2022 did not deter the younger generation from pursuing civil service positions. Statistics show that the number of applications for the National Civil Servant exam in 2023 reached 2.5 million, an increase of 500,000 from the previous year. However, the admission rate was only 1.43%, lower than the previous year, with only 35,000 admitted nationwide. Beijing had the most applicants for civil servant positions, exceeding 220,000, an increase from 8,000 from the same period last year, making it the only region with over 200,000 applicants, indicating fierce competition. There are frequent reports of master's or doctorate graduates from top universities like Peking University successfully securing jobs as city management officials in Beijing. Since Xi Jinping assumed power, he has been actively investing globally. However, many of these significant investments have not developed as planned. Domestically, to stabilize economic growth, he has introduced large sums of money, leading to a nearly 1.45-fold rise in market prices over the past decade. Many Chinese people are starting to question Xi's governance. Under his leadership, China has experienced several years of economic prosperity. However, the economy's recent performance is showing signs of decline, and the rate of decline is accelerating. Bold infrastructure investments, interference with the private sector, and diplomatic friction with some countries have all been cited as potential factors for the economic slowdown. But of more public concern is that the government's efforts to alleviate economic pressure do not seem to be yielding significant results. Especially over the past 6 months, despite the government trying various means to stimulate the economy, the results have been disappointing, and economic growth remains sluggish. The private economy is under pressure, aggressive foreign policy has strained international relations, large internet companies have been hit hard, and the education training industry has also been heavily impacted. Meanwhile, excessive infrastructure construction and high local debts, coupled with foreign companies' withdrawals, have led to rising unemployment. Everything is happening at the worst possible time, with interaction of the problems making it difficult to find a true safe haven. Standing on the brink of crisis, Xi continues to provide a direction for the world. However, the direction he provides seems contrary to reality, bringing greater challenges to China and its people. Of particular concern is that after the 20th Party Congress, Xi's position has obviously been further strengthened. From then on, there seems to be no one else within the party who can pose a substantial challenge to him. If things go as expected, Xi could possibly maintain his leadership position until the end of his life, continuing his autocratic rule. If Xi's power position had ever wavered, the Chinese people might have hoped for a new leader to steer the country in a new direction and avoid the current crisis. However, Xi's firm leadership means that the core policies of the CCP are unlikely to undergo major changes in the short term. This policy continuity may lead to China's current economic and social challenges not being resolved in a timely manner. Facing such prospect, the future appears full of uncertainty and pessimism. Against this backdrop, lowering the salaries of local civil servants will undoubtedly lead to local personnel's resentment. According to a friend who is a civil servant in China, the most discussed topic among grassroots civil servants is Xi Jinping, all blaming Xi for his incompetence. Since the income of civil servants is no longer as advantageous as before, many people are also no longer worried about losing their jobs. Young and talented officials and teachers may look for new job opportunities. Those in power may seek extra benefits. The enthusiasm of local civil servants may diminish, leading to a drop in efficiency. If this situation intensifies, the quality of education in schools may be affected, and party and government institutions may face work stoppages. This would not only increase the cost of local fiscal maintenance, but could also damage the party's credibility and public image, potentially leading to social instability, negatively impacting the authority of the central government and threatening the ruling position of the CCP.